Let's talk about the MAGA Civil War. And before you scroll past this video, because you've already seen hundreds, I'm taking a different direction. I think it's wonderful that MAGA's fighting. I enjoy watching the infighting. I think they deserve it. It was obvious to everybody else that you were being lied to and you didn't want to believe it. And now you're forced to believe it. Most of us are slow to believe things that we don't want to believe. So I understand that. But I want to tell the story that's not being told. I want to tell you about how a bunch of dark money from Silicon Valley billionaires set this chain of events in motion months ago. The date was June 6th, and the place was a mansion in Pacific Heights owned by David Sacks. Who is David Sacks? Just another South African-born billionaire investor, a man who held positions like COO at PayPal and the nightmare investment opportunity Zenefits, a man who invested early in Facebook, Uber, Airbnb, SpaceX, Palantir, and X. Co-hosting this event was Shamath Palihapitiya. I have no idea if I said that right, and I apologize, and Wikipedia needs to add phonetic spelling to make my life a lot easier. I don't want to harp too much on the political leanings of these two unelected bureaucrats, although David Sacks has been tapped as Donald Trump's crypto czar, whatever the fuck that means. When he graduated from Stanford, Sacks and his friend Peter Thiel co-authored a book. It's called The Diversity Myth, Multiculturalism and the Politics of Intolerance at Stanford. And basically what they said is, political correctness is ruining everything and there aren't enough conservative professors at Stanford. He went on then to write for the Stanford newspaper that affirmative action actually had the opposite effect and that it was creating racial segregation on Stanford's campus. One thing that shouldn't be ignored is that when Ron DeSantis chose to launch his political campaign on X, it was co-hosted by Shamath, David Sacks, and Elon, and they all initially were in the camp with Ron DeSantis. So what does this have to do with the Civil War? Well, I'll tell you. In June of 2024, after Ron DeSantis had been eliminated from contention, these billionaires were left with two options, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. The obvious choice for a billionaire would be Donald Trump. So they arranged a meeting, they arranged a fundraiser, and they flew Donald Trump out to San Francisco. In fact, Donald Trump changed the time and location of his rally in Las Vegas so he could fly to meet with the billionaires that evening. Yes, the same Las Vegas rally that had people passing out and being hospitalized for heat stroke because Donald couldn't be bothered to get a place with air conditioning in June in Las Vegas. So the billionaires have Donald Trump fly out, they meet with him in San Francisco, they talk to him about all their crypto bullshit that they're doing, and then out of nowhere, Donald Trump returns to Mar-a-Lago, and suddenly JD Vance is at the top of the VP list. That left a lot of people wondering, how did that happen? Enter Peter Thiel. Now, before he funded JD Vance's entire Senate campaign, and before he used his money to elevate JD Vance as a political player, Peter Thiel actually invested in JD Vance's business. JD Vance was one of the leaders and principal investors in a company called App Harvest. It was a startup agricultural company that he was championing as a way to give back to the working class that elevated him. Remember, JD Vance is like the hillbilly Cinderella, and Peter Thiel is the Prince Charming who just happened to find that slipper. JD Vance spent 4 years as not only a board member, but the public pitchman for App Harvest, which, by the way, went bankrupt in 2023. And the failure of this company and JD Vance's role cuts against the Ohio senator's image that he is a champion of the middle class. But after interviewing former employees and reviewing public records from App Harvest, we know that App Harvest didn't just fail financially, it also failed working class Kentuckians who JD Vance vowed to help. If you're bad at business but you have rich friends, where's the next most useful place they can put you? In the United States Senate. It's well documented at this point that JD Vance was no fan of Donald Trump. He said things like this.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
How did JD Vance go from being a never Trump guy to Trump's VP pick? The answer is money, and money creates leverage. And Peter Thiel and the other billionaires that were funding JD Vance used their money for leverage, and now they're using their leverage to get cheaper workers. And look, I'm pro-immigration. I'm pro-H-1B visas. I don't even hate this take by Republicans, but I will tell you what I do hate. I hate that Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are on X and they're talking about how, hey, if we don't have H-1B visas, we can't continue this meritocracy. You see, the truth is, billionaires became billionaires because they cut corners. Billionaires became billionaires because they found the cheapest labor they possibly could. This dream of trickle-down economics where if we tax the billionaires more, they'll trickle it down to their employees just isn't true. Here's a graph comparing the increases in wages for workers versus CEOs. And maybe the reason that so many of these MAGA mega donors, that's not easy to say, and these MAGA politicians are so friendly towards Russia and seem to be so unconcerned by Russia is because this is what happened in Russia. When things got tough for the working class, Vladimir Putin brought in all the rich guys and he gave them power. He gave them spots in his cabinet. He gave them oversight permissions. And slowly but surely, Russia turned into an oligarchy. You think inflation after COVID is bad? Try paying 30% of your monthly income on groceries. Try never owning your own house. Capitalism is a game, and the game of capitalism is get as much money as you possibly can. And what we've learned about our system, we allowed it to be rigged for the rich. The rich are buying our houses. The rich are buying our businesses. And it won't be long before we work for one of the handful of billionaire oligarchs running this country. I don't like being doom and gloom guy, but I've studied enough history to know an oligarchy when I see one, and we've got one. And we've got this small window of time to prevent our country from turning into Russia. And the shittiest part about it is that we have to rely on MAGA doing the right thing, standing up to Donald Trump, standing up to Elon Musk, and saying, keep your campaign promises and do something for the middle class.